When ordinary people think of autumn, they imagine shorter days, cozy fires, curling up with a great piece of literature, and basking in the warming scent of cinnamon with shades of burnt orange, which your other half has decided to spend the life savings on to decorate the home for only 2 months, just as God intended. Yet we must remember that this transition into the frosty abyss of winter creates the perfect conditions for the spread of the pathogen known as Halloween. This disease causes people to dress like demons and go door to door asking for free stuff. This public service announcement aims to give you the correct tool to help you deal with these contagious commie behaviors when they manifest in your local community. First, you'll want to arm yourself with multiple shots of the best-selling paperback on Amazon called The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns. With this PPE, you're fully equipped and well protected to handle what's to come next. Second, have a pumpkin spice latte and white girl autumn your time away in knitted cream shackets and pilgrim hats, because soon enough, Samhain begins. This is when the veil between the spirit realm and the physical world is at its thinnest, and possession, the main symptom of Halloween, is more commonly presented, causing this type of unironic cringe to start happening. Just look at him. This poor soul thinks he looks cool. And if you're not careful, this could be you. Together we can stop the spread of Halloween and flatten the curve. When you see fully grown adults playing dress-up and mirroring unspeakable horrors from beyond the void, remember your training and cure their vapid sense of self-identity by handing them one of our favorably reviewed treatments. Your country must develop herd immunity to seasonal cringe. So, spread the cure far and wide. Just like the cure, this disease does not discriminate by age. Emulating the infected, you will see children running around in bedsheets, knocking on doors, begging for sugary treats, and threatening to damage your well-earned property. Make sure to fill their novelty buckets with the one thing all children secretly want: a well-rounded and relatable education in biblical history. That'll stop the spread. The Nephilim Look Like Clowns and the inevitable booster volumes are currently the only known cure to thinly veiled demon channeling holidays. This is your best defense against this pandemic of spooky proportions. All you have to do is trust the science. Which you know we did, because I'm showing you people wearing lab coats and looking serious. Get your copy on Amazon today, and be prepared for tomorrow. Side effects of reading The Nephilim Look Like Clowns include, but are not limited to, a feeling of existential crisis, a well-rounded knowledge of a Christian contrarian view on human history, a foundational understanding of spiritual warfare, and a healthy aversion to clowns.
Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Come on in, sit on down. It's time for another episode of the Truth of Therapy Sessions, episode 103. My, how the time has flown. It feels like yesterday I was celebrating the century, and here we are now on 100,000 subscribers as well. It's been the month or the week, shall we say, of celebrating benchmark events, and funnily enough, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, it was the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So it certainly was an interesting beginning to a new era for this channel, shall we say, and things certainly haven't been the same since that event, have they? And I've been watching tentatively, and I've been adding my own little commentary here and there as things have developed and as movements have grown and ideas have spread and theories have been born and arguments have abound. And I've kind of just watching from the sidelines, giving my little commentary here and there, kind of getting a little bit more meta about the situation than wholeheartedly getting involved in the fight, if you get what I mean. And I feel like something came across my mind thanks to emails from certain people. They know who they are, who've kind of been sharing their ideas with me. And a few people actually reminded me and mentioned me about this thing we're going to discuss today, which is a very old letter that has been floating around in the truther culture for a long time. I mean, I remember hearing about this years ago when I first kind of woke up and started doing my research into all things conspiratorial and Illuminati, shall we say. And this particular letter written by Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini from 1871, I believe, was always there, kind of being spoken out loud in videos to discuss war, and the coming wars and the destruction events of the 20th century, and how it was all orchestrated and planned from the very beginning by the agenter of the Illuminati, playing both sides, and agents of chaos within civilization, manipulating countries and leaders to turn against each other, and faking grassroots rising movements to take control and manipulate the masses, And yeah, it does seem like the 20th century pretty much went exactly how this supposed letter said it would. And I was looking at it, I was rereading it, thanks again, being prompted by a few people in my emails, and I was thinking about a particular section of it, like, where are we now in the plan? And I think when you do read it, it does become pretty obvious. So I'm kind of diving straight into this one today, because I actually don't have all night. I've got things to do tomorrow, so I'm going to try and keep the show a lot shorter than the usual 2 hours. We'll see how long it actually goes. But I'm just going to read the letter to you guys, just to get straight into this and to show you. So just a bit of context. Albert Pike is a prolific Freemason. He wrote the book Morals and Dogma, which is basically just a laying out of the 33 levels of Freemasonry and what each subsequent level represents and what the initiates are intended to do during those. It's kind of like a manual for Freemasons, but he couldn't help while writing it spattering in here and there his allegiances to Lucifer, of course, probably thinking that the unwashed masses and the profane masses would never have the ability to read his words or bother to read that far into the book, perhaps. But with the age we live in today and the internet, maybe he got a bit cocky. But yeah, that's that guy. He was many things. He was a Southern general as well during the Civil War. This guy was involved in politics in many ways. He established the Southern Lodge of Freemasonry himself. And Giuseppe Mazzini himself was a politician, a writer, and the rest of it, and an influencer of the age. He eventually became a revolutionary and leading up a revolution in Italy as well. And he also established his version of the Freemasonry in Italy during his time. And they were very much contemporaries and in cahoots and talking with each other, very much of a similar ilk, Mazzini and Pike, and they basically communicated back and forth. And this letter is supposedly something they created that was written during their correspondences at the peak of their success, shall we say. And it was mapping out a future plan to establish 3 consecutive world wars, which would destabilize the Western world, and they can then basically take control. That's basically the gist of it. And it was a long-term goal, a long-term plan. It wasn't something they thought they would see in their lifetime, that's for sure. If it is something that they were saying, the Brotherhood must continue the great work on this matter so we can have total control. And obviously ushering the true Messiah of the world, the guiding light of Lucifer, as he would describe it. And it seems like you read this letter, this was the script that played out pretty much through the 20th century, and we're in the end game of it now. But the letter itself has been heavily contested. I can't say this, officially speaking, this letter doesn't exist. It was supposedly on display at the library in London. The main library there in London. It was on display up until 1977 when it was removed. And they claim, and they have no record of it, and they do not have it in their archive. So officially speaking, this letter does not exist. Okay, so we have to say that this is a conspiracy channel after all. But copies were made, people wrote it down, people have spoke about it, and it's been passed down to where we have it today. And it does seem like, when you read this, it's eerie. So we're just going to read the letter now and then I'll jump in with some commentary afterwards about what I've noticed happening recently in the wake of this assassination and the kind of the after effects. So we're not focusing on the assassination itself today. I'm kind of, I've done all I have to really say on that, but the after effects are where I'm kind of focusing here today. And I do think we can make some parallels here, which are interesting and worth remembering and taking note of, especially if you've been in the game for a while, and just as a healthy reminder. So here it is. I'll share the screen with you guys. Let me just make sure I've got the right page up first. Here it is. So this is the letter. I got this from someone's Samim on X posted this. But if we read this quickly, I'm sure I can see on the screen. So the following letter is a speculation claim that Albert Pike wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871 regarding a conspiracy involving 3 world wars that were planned in an attempt to take over the world. The Pike letter to Giuseppe Mazzini was on display in the British Museum Library in London until 1977, but this letter has been claimed by many internet sites to reside in the British Library in London, which denies it exists. So, again, doesn't really exist. Giuseppe was a revolutionary leader in the mid-1800s, and Albert Pike was a 33rd degree Mason, Grand Master, and he created the lodge in the southern jurisdiction. So there we go. So let's just keep reading here. So this is like quotes from the letter itself. And this is actually something I did quote in my own book when discussing what Freemasonry is and kind of where the beliefs lie, their allegiances lie, their connections to ancient mystery wisdom cults and schools, and kind of where they stand on the world stage. So here it is, quotes, "The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia, and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the Asian-Tur agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the governments and in order to weaken the religions." So step 1. Step 2, the Second World War. "It must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final cataclysm." So there we go. So first of all, I do have to say, the language of this letter, the questionable nature of it does come from the fact that the word Nazism is used in Israel and Palestine, and this language is a very modern language. So maybe these quotes are paraphrases from people's memories of what they were reading at the time. We can't really say for sure this is the language that may have been in the actual letter, because obviously the Nazi Party didn't exist in 1871. So again, that makes this highly dubious to begin with. But whether that's the case or not, I think in the world of information that we have today and the proliferation of this letter into the public, that alone is something we should question and think about. Like, why are we being made to read these things and see these things? Could this be perhaps them leaving it out in plain sight what the plan actually is under the guise of an official letter from a 33rd degree Freemason? I don't really know. But again, the language here is questionable for its authenticity, but we did certainly see that happen. And with Israel being made a nation state after World War II and the tensions that were caused in the Middle East because of this, we can definitely see that. That is for sure what did happen after that time. So this is the interesting point of this particular quote, though. International communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we need it for the final social cataclysm. So the idea is that is Christendom being the thing that's restrained and held in check, or was it communism here? It's hard to say what the reference was here, but I'm starting to think this was supposed to be about keeping Christendom down, keeping Christendom passive, keeping Christendom focused on the nation of Israel rather than their own salvation and their relationship with Christ, and obviously capitulating only to what that nation wants as God's obviously special chosen people, so they say, and the idea that, you know, this would pacify Christendom for so long, and obviously the communists themselves would be the antagonists that would always kind of make Christianity kind of act accordingly when faced with such enemies, shall we say, and obviously turn the other cheek is the main ethos of Christendom. And has communism in a way been, or shall we say, the new social Marxist, social justice warrior flavour of communism, which you have in the modern day? We could say in many ways the fear of cancel culture, the fear of being labelled a racist or a bigot or whatever you want under the sun, has certainly kept a lot of Christians perhaps scared to speak out or scared to put their head up above the crowd, because it's just such a charged political climate that you would be putting yourself on a pedestal and perhaps in the firing line by doing such a thing. So I do feel like maybe that has been the case. So if we go to the Third World War here, it must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm in which, in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization. So this is where things are getting a bit dark and where I think we might be seeing ourselves today. So let's just keep going. And the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So let's rewind here. Let me just rewind this quickly. So the Third World War will be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati. Okay. So they will pin Zionists or the State of Israel against the Islamic nations which surround it. And we are certainly seeing that right now, aren't we? Are we not seeing most of the surrounding countries of that state hate Israel and are just waiting to destroy that place and are at war with them habitually? It's been like that forever, you know, for over 70 years, 80 years since that bloody place was begun, you know, after World War II. It's been just nothing but complete upheaval in the Middle East. And we have seen this, and they are constantly at war with each other. And I do feel like it's reaching like an apex point right now where a serious clap back, shall we say, towards Israel is coming, not simply just from the Palestinians or maybe from Iran and Iraq, and maybe even Russia might get involved. I think that we're seeing rising extreme tensions all around about what's going on right now. And with it seems like the open acknowledgement of what Israel is currently doing in the Middle East is more prevalent than ever right now. That is by design. They're not even hiding it. The media's not hiding it. Social media isn't hiding it either. It feels like they want that tension to rise to breaking point now. Perhaps we will see kind of a war there, which will bring everybody into it. It says here the other nations divided on the issue will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. Everyone's getting dragged into this because of the allies and treaties that were made surrounding this particular place. And then it says here, we shall unleash the nihilists. So the Muslim-Islam war has been going on, the Muslim, Israel war has been going on for a while. Okay, and we are pretty much exhausted already. All the money has already been sent to that nation from all the Western world, and morally and spiritually, we're kind of at our wits' end as peoples who support these regimes now, aren't we? And it's kind of, I think people are already exhausted spiritually and economically, at least. Maybe not physically, but morally speaking, yes. Physically speaking, the people in Gaza, I'm sure, are absolutely at their wits' end and cannot bear to take any more. And again, I'm not here taking sides. I'm not playing the left-right game. This is not a political statement. This is the factual statement about what's actually happening right now. So I'm not here to play that game or cause any more division on the matter. Let's just focus on what is said to happen next. Unleashing the nihilists and the atheists. And we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, in which its horrors will show clearly to the nations the effects of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Well, although it didn't quite happen so sudden as this letter was predicting, we have seen since at least the 60s, and since post-World War II as well, a rising communistic, social Marxist, anti-Christian, nihilistic, atheistic mindset come to rise and take precedence. Christendom did become unpopular or fall by the wayside for the Western world very slowly throughout modernity, simply because the horrors of the World War I and World War II left people disillusioned with the hopefulness that was prior to all of that, and people heavily questioned their faith, and Christianity didn't really have the answers for the horrors that were just witnessed and the mass brother-killing, brother deaths that we just saw throughout that early time period of the 20th century. And we definitely saw, again, with the rise of communism and with the rise of more detached, free love, cultural revolutions type of attitudes, and obviously the rise of civil rights and the rest of it. I'm not saying these are bad things necessarily, but you can certainly see a stepping stone turn towards mankind taking hold of their own evolutionary process, the rise of the scientific dogma or the scientism, and the idea that space is the final frontier. God kind of just fell to the wayside. That much is clear. Christianity, the churches were emptying slowly. And with that, we did see the rise of this atheistic viewpoint, this nihilistic viewpoint, the consumerism, the capitalist, which again, they probably could have predicted in 1871 would become what it is today in a sense. But I think through the rise of commercialism, capitalism, self-centeredism, narcissism, nihilism, atheism, and the rest, I think that culture kind of had its full swing heyday in, like, let's say the 90s to like the 2010s, 2015 period, and then we start to see a huge kind of apathy and exhaustion towards those talking points and that brutal left-wing subjugation of people's morality and basic Western traditions and values just being degraded and eroded away slowly and slowly and slowly. I think people started to wake up a little bit in 2016 and started to realize, I think we've been sold a crock of shit and everything's getting worse. And the policies of the the globalist, capitalist, free movement type attitude of there are no borders, we're all one, hippy-dippy ideologies, have brought with it death and destruction and bloody turmoil and rape and pillaging and all sorts of horrible things from every front, and deaths and wars and political fights and assassinations all over the place. And it does predominantly seem to be coming from the one side, this what I call the multicolored collective. But not while I'm speaking, I'll bring it back to me, but what we call the multicolored collective. But not only that, this umbrella term has within it so many factions and subgroups who are all fundamentally pinned and based on being anti-Christ, so anti-God, anti-establishment, anti any tradition, and any ordinary norms, whatever that is. And we call these people, again, many names and many groups, but predominantly social, Marxist, communistic, left-wing, trans, gay, LGBT kind of umbrella comes under that as well, with a pride flag people as well. The multicolored alphabet mafia. There's many names people are given these groups. We know who we're talking about, and they are currently under the spotlight and scrutiny because of their blatant and brazen celebration of the assassination of somebody who simply just didn't agree with them. And that has made it clear to civilization we have murderers, bloodthirsty killers and murderers around us, and they could be anybody and anybody. If it's not as obvious as the blue haired types, we don't really know anymore. And I think there has been a rising sense of like we're kind of in danger now. People are worried, and the trust of civilization is gone. It's dead. We do not live in a high trust society like perhaps those who often daydream about a time when they could leave their front doors unlocked and go out for the day and everything would be fine. Those days are long gone. Never trust anybody who phones you at any point during the day. Unless they leave a voicemail, never answer your phone type of civilization is where we live now. You can't trust anybody. And there definitely is this fear or sense among Western civilization now that we've woken up to the fact we've been infested and brainwashed with a parasite in a way that has turned many of our youth and now, like, say, predominantly millennial generation, but even older, into psychopathic murderers because they believe they're surrounded with fascists. And the only thing you do when you're surrounded with fascists is fight. So they feel wholly justified in murdering people around them because they've been told that everyone who doesn't agree with them is a fascist. They've been utterly and totally brainwashed. And I think this group, this faction, are the atheists and nihilists that Pike was talking about here. If they were Christian, they certainly wouldn't be on that side or have those beliefs or viewpoints. I think those beliefs and viewpoints and attitudes towards their fellow man can only come from nihilism and atheism. That there is no meaning, everything is pointless, you only have yourself and out for yourself, and to kill means nothing because bad people deserve it and there is no afterlife anyway. Nihilism and atheism is what fuels these people, and I think these are perhaps what were unleashed upon us, coinciding with, or at least after, the complete and total bloody turmoil that's happening in the Middle East as well, just as they predicted in that letter. And coming back to the letter here, sharing the screen. So once the nihilists and atheists have been released, it'll provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which, in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effects of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. So could we have just seen the beginning of, or perhaps even maybe this is simply all it's going to take, the cataclysm of Charlie Kirk being assassinated, which woke a lot of people up, as I just described there, to the problem, the fifth column in the midst, the issue with society is kind of, these people don't want to talk. They were never interested in talking like the right were. Obviously, this is a two wings of the same bird situation. Don't pick a side here, but it is very clear that one side certainly is not interested in talking and only wants violence, and the other side has finally clued into that and has stopped perhaps now playing the simply talking game. And I think people are now realizing this ideology is so toxic that we are all in danger now. A civil war is about to break out. It seems very clear that that's what's happening. And all the thing is, all the propaganda, all the brainwashing, all the movies have been pointing towards that for a long time. I mean, look at like most of the titles, like the Marvel movie series, Civil War and Endgame. It's kind of, if you want to talk about predictive programming, I mean, it's a bit on the nose, isn't it? And I think like that's certainly what we're seeing here right now. Perhaps we're at the end game of this particular letter. And I think the social cataclysm has begun. I think now everyone realizes there is no social cohesion. It's not really there as we were imagining it was. And that shot, which has been heard all around the world, has made it apparent that there's a huge, serious problem and words are not going to work. I think that's where it's come to. And that seems to be the predominant attitude I am seeing everywhere now on social media. So this isn't actually my opinion. Everything I just said there is not necessarily what I believe. I believe in the non-aggression principle myself. I don't think civil war is going to work out good for anybody other than the people who have this agenda. Okay, I think we're being played on a mass scale. My opinions have been made clear. You can go to my Patreon. I did a bit of a half an hour talk about where I kind of stand on all of this, and that kind of put it to rest in that video, to be honest. But what my opinion is. But this is what they who wrote this letter want to establish, and I think this is where society is at now. Everything I just said, yeah, I'm sure you're all listening, have sympathy with it, because I'm sure you feel all these things, don't you? And that's where you are. And I'm saying, well, that's actually really is where they want you, if this letter is true. And I was watching many videos from many content creators, people with millions of subscribers, people with just like maybe a few, but they're all basically saying, you get what you deserve. It's all well and good when you were censoring everybody and taking away all their freedoms and rights and getting people, from their jobs. We've had enough now. We're going to play by your rules instead. And yeah, no, you want to play the victim, earn it. And people have the attitude of, let's just do it. Let's just take them. Let's get them all fired. Let's just take everything away from them. The pushback is beginning, and I think the rising idea of, no, these guys never played fair with us. Why should we play fair with them? It's over. We've had enough. We're done. We're done. How many content creators have you heard make that speech I just made? A lot, right? They're all doing it. They're all saying it. And look, I'm not here to say they're all shills and agenters of the Illuminati here to spark a civil war. No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, the emotions have been played, and it's hardly surprising they're saying these things, righteously so, okay, because the left is heinous and has done some horrible things, and they are propagating basically anti-life, death cult stuff, and they have been since the very inception. So yeah, justifiably, this pushback seems reasonable and well-deserved, of course. Absolutely. I'm not here to say that isn't the case. They're all patsies. That's right. Everyone on the left who's caused this reaction, they played their part beautifully, and they don't even know it. This is how it works. This is how real 5D chess works. Everyone's been talking about for so long. The pieces don't even know they're being moved. And I think we are called to be smarter than that. To be honest, I think we are smarter. I think people, they give us a lot less credit than we deserve. We deserve more credit than what they give us. If we're smarter than what their plans are, we can see through these things if we just step back for a second and get out of our emotions about this. And I do feel like that earlier step, Christendom will be kept in check until the time when we need them. And it makes it out as though communism is the kind of thing they were keeping in check until they unleash them in the future with the nihilists and atheists. But I really don't think so. I think Pike was saying in that letter the atheists will be kept in, the Christians are the things that are going to be kept in check after World War II. And in a way we have, like I said, it's been made a lot weaker, passive, more open, progressive, and kind of, it's not the crusade type of Christianity that was once in the past, and I have seen a huge rising sentiment in the wake of the Charlie Kirk cataclysmic events that's shook up civilization, where Christianity has suddenly risen into popularity again. The churches are getting filled with young men again. And look, I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. It isn't. Amen. That's wonderful. I'm glad more people have come to Christ because of this event, and God can use all bad things for good, and I believe all that too. But at the same time, coming with it are these young, disenfranchised men who checked out from society, who are coming back into society through the Christianity route. But I do feel like they're also heavily inspired by the whole, like I said, the Deus Vult attitude of Christianity, of the, righteously cut down your enemies in the name of God type of Christianity. I feel like that's the attitude behind it. They're joining the fight. Like they're joining they're picking a side, which is the natural, traditional country's side of Christianity. And a lot of them perhaps are simply cultural Christians rather than spiritual Christians, because this is a Christian country. So I am going to go to the church and show my allegiances and pick that side against our enemies at the gate type of attitude. They very much have a war mentality of Christianity. I do feel like that is the sentiment for most of it. And not all, of course not. I'm sure many have come to Christ in a loving, peaceful way and have understood the greater message of forgive them, Father, for they don't know what they do. And if he, while being murdered in the most brutal, horrible way on the cross in agony, can have the courage and compassion in that moment to turn to the Father in heaven and say, please still forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing. We as followers of Christ should also remember that we're supposed to have that same attitude and follow after him. Okay? we need to forgive our enemies. But I think this rising Christianity is very much more of an old school, the nation of Israel rising to power in the Old Testament style of righteousness, of following God. I feel like that's what we're rising up for. And in a way, I can't help but feel like on the surface, wonderful, more people coming to Christ thanks to the work Charlie Kirk did and all the rest of it, and the inspiration he was to a younger generation. Then on the other hand, I can't help but feel like, well, would this not be the Christians that aren't going to be put into check, who will be the ones that will fight back against the nihilists and the atheists in the future as a means to destabilize and destroy people's faith? Because at the end of a bloody term, if this becomes a war where the Christians and the conservative style, patriot style, this is a Christian country style people rise up and take justice into their own hands with guns, then there's going to be blood everywhere. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be war is never nice. Let's put it that way. It's never. You can romanticize it as much as you want. It's nothing like that. It's going to be horrible. And at the end of it, all those Christians, this is a Christian country style patriot people, they're going to be there, surrounded, stepping in puddles and rivers of blood. And they're probably going to have some questions about their faith after that. Like, what have we done? And propaganda is strong. Brainwashing can be strong. And in those moments, it might seem like your anger and righteous retribution is justified. But in the aftermath and the wake of what you've just done, reality will hit home and you realize you just slaughtered and killed a lot of people in the name of God. And then you'll be wondering what kind of God would allow this. And then you'll be like, oh, who am I? What is my faith? And it's kind of... And that's what this letter is angling at the end. Complete dissolution with both Christianity and atheism as a result. We've seen the massive genocidal death tolls of atheism and communism throughout the 20th century. The Gulag situation, just the mass deaths communism has caused in many, many, many different places on the earth where it's been tested and run. But we've also seen the mass deaths of, capitalism in general and the wars, and what the Middle East has caused. And we have seen both sides of the coin of, blue and red, or communism and capitalism, whatever it is, cause horrible deaths on many sides. We have seen that. We've seen that atheism, whether it is through cold capitalism or cold communism, kills people. It's really, really awful. If not destroys the earth, it kills all the animals and makes standard of living worse for everybody, but the rich and the wealthy and the elite. We've seen the issues with the structures and the powers and the power structures. It's terrible. But we haven't seen an example yet that could make us disillusioned with Christianity. And if they can foment a situation where they can get the Christians to turn violent, then we will truly see we're all just as bad as each other in the final results. That's how it's going to feel. That's how it's going to seem. It's going to be like, well, what is the truth? What is the answer? What are we supposed to do as people? Who are we supposed to follow? Who is God? What are we supposed to be doing here? Because we know atheism's terrible, so we need some kind of deistic creator understanding, and then that's where you'll get the New Age religion, the Luciferian doctrine. Do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. You are your own God. Man collectively takes control of their own evolution, and we can ascend to be like gods ourselves by directing our evolution through technological means and through our own advancements. This is Luciferianism. Knowledge will set you free. Knowledge is power. Knowledge will make you become like gods yourself. And Lucifer's just a metaphor for the light bringer. And I think that's what will be given in the end. It's kind of like, you don't need gods or a god. You have the capacity to become God. That will be the final religion that's given to the masses after these 3 wars and this bloody turmoil, and where Christianity can be unrestrained. Because if you hold Christianity back for long enough, I think the aim is to get them bitter and angry to the point where when they are released, they'll just try their best to run over everything and reestablish that Christ-centric kingdom on earth, but through the wrong means, through blood and war and pain and misery and subjugation, rather than simply how it should be done. just spreading the gospel and spreading the word and realizing that the kingdom is within each and every single one of us. And we are all members of the kingdom of heaven, and we can manifest it here on earth right now if we walk accordingly and peacefully love one another, love your neighbor, and forgive them, for they know not what they do. The simple gospel, the simple message, the message of love and peace, of no matter how far gone you are, you can still, through accepting his sacrifice, make it to the kingdom. No one's too far gone. But what's being fermented right now is this attitude. The left, though, they are too far gone. No one's too far gone, but those guys over there. You see what the problem with that? Is that conducive to the Christian ethos when you really get down to brass tacks and really think about it? It's not. But in a world of control we live in today, where everything is so absolutely terrible for every single group of people, whether be it the generational gap, age gap, wealth gap, the haves and have-nots are more far apart, and there's a chasm between all of them bigger than ever before, and where, food is at its highest cost, and the homelessness is rising, the ability to even purchase home is disappearing, the ability to even have a stake in the game of existence on this earth is only for those with the privilege, have enough money to even play that game to begin with. It's getting harder for everybody in every front, and yes, it's brutal. Everyone knows something has to change or we're not going to make it type of feeling is in the air. And when we have these events that have just been happening recently with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I can't help but see patterns here. And I'm seeing this letter, these actions, these things kind of echoing through. There's a plan in motion here. And if we're not paying attention, then we are just pawns on a chessboard, and we're going to be moved and used in any way the people playing the game see fit. And I don't have all the answers. We're kind of in the dark a little bit here. I don't know where to point the fingers exactly. And I don't know. All we can seem to really do is just solidify our faith in Christ and not fall for the get violent game that's being played right now. If our enemies are spitting at us and accusing us and attacking us, then I understand the desire to want to just take them out, because they're blasphemers, antichrist, heathens anyway, and they're terrible, and they do the worst possible things, and they'd kill me if they had the chance. I understand that urge right now, and the tensions are high enough that people are openly basically saying stuff like that. Maybe not so far as killing them, but it's more of a, if they do come at me, the better I'll be ready type of attitude is definitely right there. And the words come first before the violence, right? When words end, the violence begins. And I saw this great analogy. It's kind of, those who do the violence are just the tip of the spear. Very few, But the spear, the handle, is a lot of people who cheer it on and encourage it through their language and words and behaviors and actions. But those who commit the atrocities are just the tip of the spear, the violent part of it all. And we need to realize, what we say matters. Everything really does. It creates physical effects. It matters. It ends up becoming matter in the earth, in the world. What we say has a real, tangible, physical effect on our surroundings, on people, their beliefs, their attitudes, how they behave, what they do, and what they say. Words are magic, and we cast spells with words, and we will have to give an account for every word when it comes to being before God. And we need to realize that what we say is important. How we conduct ourselves is extremely important. We can't just be so blasé about it, especially at a time like this. And especially if you want to claim to be a Christian, you need to be extremely careful. Especially now. And not get swept up in your emotions in these movements that have been laid out for us as paths to follow a long time ago. Perhaps since 1871. So, yeah, there's my little diatribe about what's going on here. Here's a quick reminder about that letter. A few thoughts here and there, what I think the parallels are to today's day and age, and how we need to be extremely careful, especially now. And look, it's wonderful that more people are coming and filling the churches And it seems like Charlie Kirk's death had some good, you know, in many ways, bringing people to Christ. We can't ask for anything better than that, really. That's wonderful. But there are snakes and wolves in sheep's clothing in many of these places who are waiting to corral these brand new members to the flock, these sheep, into a bad direction, because it takes time to understand, once you become a Christian, what Christ wants for us and how he wants us to conduct ourselves as a process, you know. And a lot of these new young people coming to churches, they're going to get directed by possibly the agents of the Illuminati, the agenter, as mentioned there, to ferment them into revolutionaries, to guide them that way. And it's going to come under the guise of a righteous judgment that you are all a part of. God is moving and gathering an army to fight back against the evils in the world we see today, and those who would propagate evil. You can imagine that type of language, right? And I'm sure I've seen the odd video here and there that some of the pastors may actually even be going that way now. And I do wonder, in some of these 501c3s, how many of them are, in fact, Christians or perhaps Freemasons themselves who are contributing towards this work, you know. I do wonder. I'm not just saying that flippantly either. I'm saying this after doing a lot of research into the little season and other topics surrounding this for a while. I saw a lot of mask-off moments for a lot of church leaders during that time of research in my life. And I do wonder where we are when it comes to this. And is it their role to be there ready to pick up these brand new members and guide them down that wrong path when the time comes, which could be now? Who knows? So there we go, guys. I'm gonna stop there with the rant. You might see a clip of this later in the week. That tends to be what I do on my channel. But I'm gonna stop to have a quick break, have a drink. I'm gonna play the usual song for you guys right now, because again, I'm kind of in a rush here and I don't have time to plan much else. But here is Endurance by Yahweh and the Vagabond. But we're gonna go for the reggae version this time, just for fun. And I'll be back in 5 minutes.
The shout 40 lashes -1. Count my suffering as with the sun, so drips on out my blood. 40 swore to an oath, until his death come by the hands of man, we shall stop. The Lord of Heaven's army shall protect me. God, my scars are ready to bear. Privileged to trust you, I'll worship instead. Though in anguish my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to pray. Thank you, Lord. To tread the broad path the flesh declines, guided by the renewal of mind. Something's brewing in the unseen sky. Rulers of this realm forfeit at the mention of the true Christ. Bound are my wrists behind bars to chains for you. Temptations play its hand, but I cannot renounce what's true. As the earth shifts and the cracks expand, though we were already free, that so be it. Count my prosperity, share with the sun. Got my scars already to bear. Privilege to trust you, I worship instead. Though in anguish my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to pray. Thank you, got my scars already to bear. Privilege to trust you, I worship instead. Though in anguish my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to pray. Thank you,
When ordinary people think of autumn, they imagine shorter days, cozy fires, curling up with a great piece of literature, and basking in the warming scent of cinnamon with shades of burnt orange, which your other half has decided to spend the life savings on to decorate the home for only 2 months, just as God intended. Yet we must remember that this transition into the frosty abyss of winter creates the perfect conditions for the spread of the pathogen known as Halloween. This disease causes people to dress like demons and go door to door asking for free stuff. This public service announcement aims to give you the correct tool to help you deal with these contagious commie behaviors when they manifest in your local community. First, you'll want to arm yourself with multiple shots of the best-selling paperback on Amazon called The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns. With this PPE, you're fully equipped and well protected to handle what's to come next. Second, have a pumpkin spice latte and white girl autumn your time away in knitted cream shackets and pilgrim hats, because soon enough, Samhain begins. This is when the veil between the spirit realm and the physical world is at its thinnest, and possession, the main symptom of Halloween, is more commonly presented, causing this type of unironic cringe to start happening. Just look at him. This poor soul thinks he looks cool. And if you're not careful, this could be you. Together we can stop the spread of Halloween and flatten the curve. When you see fully grown adults playing dress-up and mirroring unspeakable horrors from beyond the void, remember your training and cure their vapid sense of self-identity by handing them one of our favourably reviewed treatments. Your country must develop herd immunity to seasonal cringe. So, spread the cure far and wide. Just like the cure, this disease does not discriminate by age. Emulating the infected, you will see children running around in bedsheets, knocking on doors, begging for sugary treats, and threatening to damage your well-earned property. Make sure to fill their novelty buckets with the one thing all children secretly want: a well-rounded and relatable education in biblical history. That'll stop the spread. The Nephilim look like clowns, and the inevitable boost of volumes are currently the only known cure to thinly veiled demon channeling holidays. This is your best defense against this pandemic of spooky proportions. All you have to do is trust the science. Which you know we did, because I'm showing you people wearing lab coats and looking serious. Get your copy on Amazon today, and be prepared for tomorrow. Side effects of reading The Nephilim Look Like Clowns include, but are not limited to, a feeling of existential crisis, a well-rounded knowledge of a Christian contrarian view on human history, a foundational understanding of spiritual warfare, and a healthy aversion to clowns.
And we're back. There we go. Just sort of throw another advert in there while I was at it. It's spooky season, and I think it's a good time to promote the advert I made for last Halloween again. I think we're about that time. But yeah, guys, if you want to get a copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, that is available on Amazon. And I do have a new batch of signed copies arriving within the week. People have already pre-ordered a few of them. I've had about 4 pre-orders from that batch. I'm going to get nothing but hardcovers, I think, for this one. But if you would like a signed copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, sent from me personally, right here from this office in the UK, out to wherever you are in the world, email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, and we can get that arranged. Another thing, on the side note, you may have noticed, maybe some new subscribers wouldn't have seen this, but I'm a bit of an artist, I have a degree in fine arts, that's what I do, and this channel has awarded me many blessings along the way, and people have asked me and commissioned me to draw some things for them, and I have just finished a commission very recently for one of my subscribers, and her dog, Brindle, who was a service dog, sadly passed away not that long ago, and she asked me to draw her dog for her and also include her cat, Sir Beef Wellington, into the mix because they were best friends, and she's made lots of wonderful pictures of them kind of close, hugging each other, very foreheads touching, very much inseparable. And I did finish that commission recently and release a video of that. So I'm going to play that video for you guys now. Just something positive, something a little bit more uplifting, something creative and something that shows, hopefully inspiring people that there is a good way to channel your creative gifts from God to something positive that can help each other in this community. And if you are interested in having your own commission done from me, again, you can email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. And we can work something out, pricing and the rest of it based on the size you want, the hours involved, and obviously if I'm willing to do it as well. If you come up to me asking me to draw something absolutely heinous and horrible for your alter furry ego, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I have some standards, but if you've got something decent you want me to draw, just let me know. But I'm going to play that for you now, just quickly. It's only a minute long. I sped it up. Here it is for you guys. I'll just turn that intro video off. I'll make this clear. And here it is. get my mic working there. And there we go, guys. So that was the latest commission I did. Again, if interested, email me understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and we can get that arranged, something more personal from myself, something of value I can give back to you guys if you want to support me as well. Like I said, I do try and give back as much as I can to anybody who supports me. That's why we do have a Patreon-only video. I'm going to post a lot more Patreon-only videos on there coming up in the future as well for all those guys who want to support me over there as well. Because honestly, I couldn't do any of this without your support. It's that simple. And in the times we're in, you know, with the chaos that's happening around us now, I do feel like it's a very sensitive time to be a YouTuber. Like, I feel like one wrong word going in one way will just take you out in a second these days. So when it all does come crumbling down around me eventually, it'd be good to know that those who support me can find me in other places like Patreon. I am on all podcasting platforms as well, so feel free to follow that show on there. And, you know, I do have other things like Odyssey. I think I am on Rumble, but do not post on there. I've fallen massively behind. I haven't posted on there in years. So we need to find some alternative eventually. But like I said, things like ad revenue, I can't rely on. So the book, for example, is my alternative revenue stream. Patreon, I sell merch, anything extra surrounding YouTube where people choose to support me. Without that, I wouldn't be here doing this with the confidence I have to do what I do, you know. So thank you to anyone who does. And again, in the spirit of always want to give something back to you guys, get a book, ask for a commission, something like there you go. I try my best, guys. I'm trying to give something back to you guys, because you know I am human and it can feel a bit bad sometimes just accepting donations from people. It does feel a bit strange. So I do try my best to give as much value as possible back to you guys. So like I said, 2 live shows a week, videos in between, the extra channel Understanding Creativity as well. I actually just did a talk on there with Susan, our resident art lecturer, and she gave a massive, fantastic 2.5-hour presentation on MK Ultra and the artists that were involved, quite clearly as espionage agents, like who were pretending to be artists basically in the culture to have like a cover for who they are and what they do and why they were traveling to certain countries. It was crazy. Like I didn't realize just how prolific it was and how terrifying, how deep all that stuff went. So there's a great MK Ultra video coming out on that channel very soon. So go check out Understanding Creativity if you haven't already. The logo's just here if you're wondering what it looks like, and the links are probably down below anyway. So go check that channel out. And again, a new episode for the Occult Art series coming out. Yeah, that stuff is crazy. That was dark. That was really dark. It's probably gonna have to be split into 2 parts because it is 2.5 hours. But yeah, that blew my mind, and I feel like it was quite relevant for the times that we're in, with obviously people suddenly the programming's kicking in and they're going out, they're killing people. You know, that's their attitude that they have right now, and you can't help but feel like whatever happened with MK Ultra in the past, when they claimed to shut down the program in the 70s, they just packed up, changed the name, and went to go and apply everything they learnt onto the public. You know, it didn't shut down. They just moved to the next phase, application onto the public. And I think we're seeing the full repercussions of that application today. I really feel that's what we're living through now. And mass trauma-based mind control is being implemented on civilization on a huge scale. And I talked about the trauma behind this recent event, like it was felt by everybody. It was like a dark cloud over the whole earth the day after it happened. And it's events like that. And again, obviously what happened just 2 decades ago around the same time on 9/11, you know, that was a mass trauma ritual, clearly, like a huge event where such an enormous loss of life, and those events and these assassinations often serve a great purpose in the long run, because they change the way society runs after they happen, because they're so emotionally charged on the masses that people get so traumatized by it that it makes them force through and agree with the implemented offered changes that the people at the top have waiting for us. And these events are perfect for them. They'll never waste a good opportunity. And, which is why I'm not getting into the idea of real or fake and all that type of thing, because whether that's the case or not, an event like this will always be used for this purpose. That's the way I see it. And it's trauma. And they made sure everyone saw the death. Even with 9/11, they made sure everybody saw people jumping from windows. They didn't hide or censor anything like that, And everyone with this Charlie Kirk thing made sure you saw the life drain out from him, the blood and the rest of it, the visceral moment, the screams. They played it on repeat. It was on every social media platform. And even, they made sure children saw it. There was no censorship involved whatsoever. No, it didn't even try to censor it anywhere. For like a good week-long period, it was too much for us to handle. We couldn't censor it type of attitude. It was just too much. It was everyone was posting it all over the place, But we have all seen that when they want to censor something, they can bloody censor something. Nothing stops them. Nothing stops them. They wanted everybody to see that. And they wanted everybody to be traumatized by what they saw. That's where the real conspiracy lies, as far as I'm concerned. The effects on the minds of people that these events cause and the way they use them to control people. And trauma changes people. Again, this MK Ultra presentation I did really reminded me, like, trauma makes people stop being able to think. It actually creates blank slates. If you put them through enough, people become vegetables, basically. Like, they can't think or move or act of their own accord anymore. So they create alters in order to suppress the trauma and forget that it actually happened and create a new persona to live by, as though they're happily ignorant of what just happened to them. But that alter ego, that broken down version of their former self, still exists within them. And they reprogram that thing. And they reprogram it with trigger words so they can make them switch back to that old persona just with the right triggers. And then that person has been programmed to have a mission. Go and kill target X, Could be anything, to be honest. Destabilize country or region B, whatever, they've been broken down, then reprogrammed through trauma. And when you, on a mass scale, traumatize the public psychologically for so long through many, many psychological operations, and we know they've had so many psyops used against us for decades, as a culture, as a civilization, that changes us in a big way, in a scary way. Like, if you just look what trauma does to an individual through these experiments, these documented experiments, which have been released, by the way, you can read about what they've done. It's out in the open now. It's disclosed, it's disclosed information if you want to go and read what the first experiments of MK Ultra were all about, And they were like flaying people, skinning people, waterboarding people, electrocuting people. They were doing as much as they could to these orphans and homeless people and students, who willingly signed up for this as well. And many of them went on to become great musicians and artists and pop stars and things like this that we know of throughout history, But it's but they were heavily, brutally tortured and sensory deprived and all sorts of things, And yeah, the outcome is they lose themselves, they lose their minds, and this is what they're doing to us. How much have we lost our minds? How much are people creating alter egos to forget the misery and torture and trauma that they've been witnessing and going through that's been put on them through media? Perhaps this can explain phenomena like people having alter egos, wanting to escape into, like, say, I don't know, Comic-Con culture, LARPing cultures or furry cultures, these people where people create alters of themselves that they can hide behind, masks to hide behind, and this type of thing. Maybe this explains why when the mask mandates came around, there was such a large portion of the population who were loving that idea and still continue today, having permission to put on the mask to hide. Perhaps is their way of coping with the trauma that came prior. And when, obviously, because they're so traumatized, they were easily malleable for the programming that came down the pipeline. And you can see the benefits here, can't you? And this is why we need to be so solidly rooted in Christ and understand that, yes, this world is fallen and corrupt, but with him we have a solid foundation. we cannot falter as long as we have him behind us. You know, he who's in us is greater than he who's in the world. That worldly control, that trauma, that attack, those daily spiritual attacks on us, we can be protected with the armor of God and stand strong through it all and be a beacon of light and a pillar for those around us who are falling into the quicksand. You know, that's all we can really do during this time. And these fantasies of revolution, Christian revolution, I feel like right now that's exactly what they want. And they are not the answer. That's probably a product of trauma-based mind control. That's my opinion. You know, believe me, you don't believe me, it's just an opinion. You know, it's just an opinion. I could be wrong. But these are just, again, patterns I've noticed, things I've seen. Anyway, while I'm here, you've got me, guys, for a little bit. We're going for an hour and 11 minutes. I can't go for too much longer because it's 11 o'clock for me here. So I'm going to have a relatively early night. It's Monday tomorrow, things to do, errands to run, you know how it is. But yeah, you've got me for a little bit, guys. So any questions, let me know. Just let me know in the chat now. I'm here with you. The delay's only 10 seconds rather than 20 seconds, so I will see your question 10 seconds after it's been posted. So I'll just send them in now, and let's see if we have a bit of a back and forth. I did originally have a plan to have a caller, but he never responded to my email in time, so I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, so I'm afraid I can't. Yeah, maybe we'll arrange that for the next time. We'll do a call-in show next week, shall we? See what other people's opinions are on all of this and what they're thinking and feeling surrounding all these things. Yeah, my caller, who was supposed to be on last week and rescheduled for this week, never responded. So we don't know what's going on now. Let's just see. But yeah, I'm here with you guys right now. So any comments, let me know. I hope everyone's playing nice in the chat. About respect, you know. The study of putting people in charge of others in a guards and prisoners context is known as the Stanford Prison Experiment. Yeah, and that proves that give people a little bit of authority and they will lose themselves. Yeah. But we see that all the time in middle management positions in corporations and just the day-to-day 9-to-5 grind, you know. We see those people everywhere, don't we? And yeah, again, during the COVID times, they were just loving it. They were just loving that tiny bit of authority given to them by the government to dob in their neighbours for not capitulating to the mandates. You know? Yeah, they were lapping it up. Oof, and they live among us. Yeah, they could be in your very home. Who knows? But they're around. They are vipers. Yeah. Beautiful work. Oh, thanks, guys. You liked the drawing, did you? That's good. I'm glad you guys liked the drawing. Paul, any speculation on what the pure doctrine of Lucifer could be that Pike mentioned in the letter? A perverse Christianity. Okay, so it's going to be a scientific New Age belief system that has no God. Mankind will be God in the Luciferian doctrine. And Lucifer will be a metaphor or symbol for knowledge or light. That's likely how it's going to get played out. Because it's going to come to a world that's completely disillusioned with atheism and dogmatic, monotheistic Christianity type, Abrahamic religions we get umbrella termed under, you know. But we're followers of the way. We're not Christians, fundamentally. We're just followers of Jesus Christ. The Christian label holds a lot of baggage and weight, which will be used against the community at large in the future, no doubt. But people are going to be so disillusioned with how hopeless and horrible it is to have no God, but also disillusioned with how horrible and terrible it can be when you believe in a God. So they're going to try to find a middle ground. This will be the Luciferian doctrine where we are God. Everybody is God collectively. We're all just consciousness. It's a New Age religion. It's kind of like a bastardized Gnostic religion in a way. Our consciousness is trapped in the flesh, Something like that. The whole demiurge Sophia situation might get poured in the mix, but it's going to be like an amalgam of a lot of things. Every religion kind of had something right, but they were all wrong, fundamentally, And we're going to find the one true faith, which is mankind is God. Our consciousness is God collectively, and death isn't really the end. It's just your consciousness goes back to source, because we're all source, experiencing individuation through our bodies. We just forgot that while we're in the flesh. We don't remember these things, but we remember now. So collectively, humanity can dictate and control its own evolutionary process as God to become more like the true form of the Godhead. And to do that, that will come with things like culling the population down to a very small amount. And it will be wholly justified. And many people will be sacrificing themselves up to be culled, because the new belief system will tell them the less people there are, the more concentrated the Godhead is. So you'll be more godlike as individuals and powerful and connected to the fifth dimension and telepathic and telekinesis and all sorts of things going on. You'll have more powerful godlike traits and abilities if there are less people. But the more people there are, the more diluted the God energy is, the weaker we are, and the less godlike we are, and the less powers we have. So that will instantly justify, well, let's just get rid of 9.5 billion people and get it down to 500 million instead or something. Then it's a little bit more, it'd be a much better world. You create a new death cult. That's what they've created, a death cult. It definitely goes against the be fruitful and multiply. The very first order, from God. Everything about it will be an antichrist, anti-God religion, which will be posing as light and love and consciousness and peace. That will be the light of Lucifer. That will be the doctrine of Lucifer. We are God. Man is God. Bite of the apple and ye shall be as God, knowing good and evil. Okay, it's the very first lie from the garden, the very first promise, come to full maximum light and fruition. That's what they hope anyway. Man makes plans, God laughs. So let's see how that actually plays out in reality. I have faith Jesus has already won. He is king. He is sovereign as far as I'm concerned. The devil has nothing. And the doctrine of Lucifer falls apart very quickly when confronted with Jesus on the cross. Absolutely. And this whole idea that, well, all religions are kind of the same just falls apart completely when you actually understand that Jesus Christ is completely antithetical to every other religion on earth. And there's nothing else like it. Okay. It's a truly unique. He is the way. He is the only one. He is God. It's simple. He is the Son of God and God simultaneously. There is no other way to the Father but through him. It's very clear. All of the religions fall short, extremely short. And if, there's nothing you can do to get yourself there either, like all these other religions promise. You just simply have to humble yourself before Christ and before God. And it's his sacrifice that got you there. Nothing you did, no work, no set of rules you followed or anything like that. And that's wholly unique. That's extremely unique. To everything else on there's nothing else like it. All religions are not equal. That's a lie, an absolute lie from Satan himself. And I feel like we're getting bold enough to say these things now and not worry about hurting people's feelings. But no, they're not. Christ isn't just like a bastardized version of old pagan sun gods like Zeitgeist lied and popularized. It's none of that nonsense. It's not. Like, well, every religion kind of has something to offer. No, not really. No, I don't think that's true at all. I don't think they do. I think there's only one way. And I think we need to be bold in saying that this day and age, we can't really beat around the bush too much about that situation anymore. The age of tolerance is coming to an end, and there's a way to do it. We don't get violent about it. But when we're called to tell the truth, we tell the truth, and the truth is Jesus Christ. That is it. There's, doing the right amount of mantras or exercises or stretches or enough psychedelics isn't going to get you there. Having the right sigils isn't going to get you there. Doing the right amount of prayers, facing in the right directions isn't going to get you there. Your rituals and your symbols and your signs and your talismans and your idols are not going to get you there. None of that. It has to be a a tacit want and desire and genuine need to want to become a member of the kingdom of heaven. And to do that, you can only get there through his son, Jesus Christ. That's it. And he's done the work for you. He's done the work for you. You just have to accept it. And that's it. But man, as I've said many times, and I was there in the past, I get it. I come from that understanding previously. We want to say we did it. It was me. I got into heaven through my own wonderful nature and the things I did. Wasn't I so wonderful and holy? I got enough knowledge, or I became enough of a wizard to understand the true complexities of reality, to break through. And, people have been trying to build towers to heaven since Nimrod. It's all bluster, it's all hubris, it's all pride, it's all vanity. It's nonsense. And that's the problem with humans. We're like that. We're prideful and vain. We don't want to give the credit to somebody else. We don't want to offer the free gift of salvation from Christ. It's like, no, I want to do it. It's me. I want to be the one that did it. I want to be special, That's the problem. That's the major issue why people deny Christ, as far as I'm concerned. I've been there. I get it, and they'll scream that's ridiculous till they're red in the face, but that's the truth. That's why people don't want to accept Christ. They don't want help. They're full of pride and hubris. It's a shame, really, because things only get better when you do accept it. Like, way better. Because finally the burden's lifted off of you. The burden to save the world. Could you imagine taking that on your shoulders? You have to be the one to save the world and its people, do you? I can imagine that, but people live by that mentality, and they die by that mentality, and they suffer a great deal through the process, and they don't succeed because this world is corrupt and fallen and will eat them alive. Only the Son of God could have done it, only him, only the Son of Man, only Jesus. And that's basically what the whole law was trying to teach us in the beginning. No matter how often God tried to help Israel and get them back on track and make new covenants with them, or try and make it easier for them to follow the laws and just stay true to him, they kept doing the opposite. They kept falling away and worshipping false gods again and falling back into sin and breaking the law. And you have to keep trying to punish them and correct them and get them back in line. And that's this eternal story of mankind's relationship with God, isn't it? Failing to meet his standards. Christ didn't. He did it perfectly. And thanks to his death, we're covered by it. When God looks at us at that final judgment, he sees his son spotless. We're covered. That's what it means to be covered by the blood of the Lamb. That's what it means. And I'm not sure people understand this. I think people have this weird view of Christianity in their mind, or this passive view of Christians as weak, or having no knowledge, or being ignorant or something, and not understanding the deep truths they understand because they did the real work and read the right books. Only an idiot would believe the Bible or believe the word of God or anything, or, not understanding, well, my faith isn't based on ink on paper. It's through a personal experience with Jesus Christ. A real spiritual, tangible, spiritual experience. I'm not like the new Protestant Lutheran type of groups of new wave Christians that came after the Reformation, where it's all about, it's all philosophy, it's all an idea, it's all symbolism type of faith in Christianity. I have a spiritual Christianity. More orthodox, I suppose, if you want to go that far. But the supernatural is real to me. A lot of modern Christianity denies the supernatural, and I think it's because of those Christians denying the supernatural for so long that it does kind of make us look silly. It really does, because the thing is, everybody, even the atheists, though they deny it, they believe in a supernatural world. They do. They call it something else, and then they say things like, "Well, magic is indistinguishable from science," when they have their own ways of doing it. They have their faith and their religion and other things, But I think we live in a supernatural world where people raising from the dead really does happen, and where there are dimensions where creatures reside, call them the Nephilim, but also heaven where God resides. And I think there's a kingdom waiting for us. I think heaven and earth will become one day in a mystical, magical, wonderful, unbelievably supernatural way we cannot even comprehend. I think what's in store for us at the end of all of this is far greater than anything the earth alone can have to offer, or what those rulers of the earth have given us as scraps and crumbs so far. And I think the kingdom's right around the corner, to be honest. But you have to also remember, he's already won. He's already conquered death on the cross. His kingdom's already here. It's in every single one of us as citizens of that kingdom. And we can walk upright as citizens of that kingdom on this earth with dominion, with power and authority to tread on serpents, to tell the truth and to cast out spirits of people and to change the world. You know, that kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. We can make that happen. We can make that happen. It's just, the truth is going to get out eventually, and I think there was always going to be more people coming to Christ in these last days, wherever you want to put yourself in that timeline, you know. And like I said, with this resurgence of new young men joining the church now, it's wonderful, it's brilliant, but I feel like they're being a little bit deceived by who's going to get them. Which shepherd's going to lead this new flock that comes to these churches, and what are they going to be taught in the near future, and what? Because we know as conspiracy theorists, yes, the churches are heavily corrupted in many ways too complicated to even thoroughly explain here now. So, in a long-winded answer to your question, that's going to be the Luciferian religion. So there we go. What's the next question? What have we got? We have systematically had the supernatural worldview stripped away over time to our detriments, says Josiah. Exactly, you know, and that's done even just in wider civilization in general. But it's very real. It's the thing is that I think people don't really understand spiritualism. They imagine like other dimensions where portals need to be open to get through. And it's kind of like, no, like the spiritual world is here right now with us. It is this world. This world is a spiritual creation. Everything is spiritual. We are spiritual beings. And the spirit world is happening all around us right now with this world simultaneously. The only thing that changes is our perception, our ability to perceive more of it in the finer, more complex geometric details of the code, you know, of that manifests it and makes it happen. And I think people who have wider perceptions, and, you know, drugs do this, they basically brute force it open by widening up the pupils and letting in more light and more information. And people who've done DMT will tell you it's right here, it's right now, it's all around us. It's not separate from our existence in any way. What we do in the spirit realm, in the physical realm, is happening in the spiritual realm at the same time. It's all one thing happening. You know, it's not like another dimension. You can leave this body and go and explore over there or something. It's simultaneous. It is happening now with everything at once. And then outside of that, there is like a heaven situation. You know, there's layers above that, but we as humans do not get to leave where we are. It doesn't happen. You might be able to leave your body in sleep and explore the world some more, but from the more ethereal sense, the lighter density versions of it, you know, in spirit, but it's still the earth, it's still the world. You don't get to tour the heavens or Sheol without the aids of God and his angels as tour guides, you know. Enoch can attest to that, you know. You don't just get to go there of your own volition. No, it doesn't work like that. And I think when we say out of this world, what we're really talking about is heaven. God's domain. The thing that makes all of this happen. The word itself, you know. And I think it's something that we cannot comprehend from our position or understanding and our limited perceptions. It really isn't. And then you get a lot of people who slightly turn the dial up on their frequency because they take some hard psychedelics and they think suddenly it's so deep and profound and understand how the universe works. It's kind of like, no. You just saw a little bit more of the creation you already exist in. You just saw just a little bit more. That's all it is. So yeah, that's my view on the spirit realm. There will be no escape. What purpose do the ultra-terrestrials serve in the bigger story? You talk about aliens? Like the terrestrial extras that are here on Earth with us, the fallen ones, the angels, the watchers, and their Nephilim offspring. Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about humans? Are we the ultra-terrestrials? Are we the... What purpose do we serve? I'm not sure what you're on about there. I wouldn't want to go on a diatribe without knowing exactly what it is you want from me there. I guess people have seen a grid-like pattern or something in the sky when they take certain things. Reminds me a lot of the whole prison planet theory I've heard about. No, look, I think it's God's creation that we live in, and we should be happy that we're embodied, because being embodied is the only way we can experience things like love, pleasure, happiness, joy, family, existence, experience, and senses in general. People call it a prison and a trap, but it's kind of the spirits who don't have a body. They would tell you that we're in heaven, and they're trapped in hell. They hunger and they thirst, but they have no mouth. They have no body to satiate those desires or urges or sensations. The disembodied spirits, the Nephilim, what we call demons today, they are trapped in hell. And we, with our bodies, they desire and envy that greatly. They're desperate to get back into a body. But then here they are teaching us doctrines that make us think, oh, my body's just a trap for my soul. Oh, no, what a horrible flesh prison created by the evil demiurge who just wants me to suffer. It's kind of like, what a demonic, horrible belief system that truly is when you actually understand it. God created us a living soul, embodied. It's all one system. And we need it. We need that. You need the soul and the body and the Holy Spirit all working together in tandem for us to exist as God intended. Never get all Gnostic about it or Matrix about it. You are not trapped here. Okay? It's not a trap. It's a blessing. Gnosticism and materialism has corrupted our thoughts and understandings of our reality, causing a false idea of separation between physical and spiritual. Exactly. There is no separation. That's the lie. And yeah, Gnostics do tend to believe that. But the problem is you can't define Gnosticism in a way that they're going to be happy with. They'll always say, well, that's not real Gnosticism. You know, they're just as bad as the communists. It doesn't matter what you say, how you describe it. It'll never be good enough. Convincing someone they're in a hell realm or a prison is proof of that magic exists. I guess so. Yeah, that's what language and words and books and symbols and signs and art can do. It's truly magic, and it can make people believe anything. Are you going to talk about Terry d'Iso? No. So there we go, guys. I'm going to leave that there. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. It's been going for an hour and a half. Again, if you want to support me in any way, please consider getting yourself a copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns. You get a book, and I get some support. That's a good tip for tat. If you would like to get yourself a commissioned drawing, you can email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, and we can work out something. The audiobook is available for The Nephilim Look Like Clowns if you want to get yourself an audiobook as well. Make sure to subscribe to the other channel, Understanding Creativity. Got some videos coming from there very soon, and I'll be releasing more videos on this channel later in the week. So thanks for listening, guys. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to close this out with an advert for the audiobook. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.
In a world where 54% of Americans read below a 6th grade level,
Could you read this?
It's impossible. I just see his words everywhere.
one man wrote a book about the hidden truth behind clowns.
I finally finished it. Everything's going to be okay now. Links down below to the Amazon.
But he was about to find out
Your primary market is the USA, and it ranks 36th in global literacy rates, with over 43 million adults unable to read or write.
Getting the truth to people is no day at the circus.
You know, sometimes I wonder if I'm the real clown.
Nobody reads anymore.
Have you considered recording an audiobook?
You're going to get a sore throat.
You're serious about this, aren't you?
You don't understand. I have to do this. The people have to know.
That book will ruin everything.
I will not use AI to record this.
We can't let him reach them.
This is just something I need to do. I don't even like clowns. The end.
Now they can hide that they're completely illiterate. This is amazing.
This season, playing on rectangular devices with black screens near you. The Nephilim looked like clowns. The Audiobook.